Hi, hello, and hi, and welcome to the channel. Hello, hi, hello, and welcome. Hi. Welcome to another video. Another one. So today I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna use the program that I coded, and we're just gonna see what's up. I feel like there was a whole whatever I was gonna say. Part of me is like, it doesn't matter. This is water, by the way. I don't know. Anyway, I was gonna put a hat on, but I was like, you know what? The hair is what the hair is. I'll be getting it done soon. I've this. No, nobody cares. But the reason why I've waited like this long is because usually, like, I get it done before I'm going on a trip or like fairly regularly. But especially this year, it seems like I feel like I go through phases. I don't know if it's like every other year or every other however many months. There are some times when my hair grows at like a maintainable pace, and there are some times when my hair is just like growing. Like I'll get my hair done, and then like 3 to 4 weeks later, I'll need like a retwist because it just grew. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's been growing, so it's like I don't want to get it. I don't want to pay to get it done, and then like turn around and have to get it done like because something came up. You know what I mean? So anyway, not that anybody needed to know. I did think about putting on a hat today, but that just goes to show where my capacity is for certain things. I'm like, people know it's fine. I am wearing this again. I'm like low key obsessed with gray and pink right now. I mean, gray is one of my favorite colors now. I've gone through different phases. When I was really young, yellow and pink were my favorite colors because they were happy colors. And then it shifted into like a midnight blue, and then it was like gray. I really like charcoal gray, but there's something about heather gray every now and then that it's like honorable mentions to heather gray. So I say charcoal gray and heather gray, even though it's like mostly charcoal gray. But there's just something about heather gray. You know what I mean? Anyway, all right, cool. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to use that program that I coded, the one that I debuted in that one video that you saw 18 seconds of. And from what I remember of that video, excuse me, to what came out in the last live, to what's kind of sort of been the vibe energy or like the thread that's been connecting this recent, excuse me, sort of string of readings. um I don't know. At least from my side, and I guess like that's the point of audiences, readers, and collectives, right? That like there are different audiences, there are different collectors, and there are different readers, and somewhere in there you find something, right? Not every reader reads for the same collective. Not every reader reads for the same audience within that collective, and we all have a piece of something of the puzzle, right? Um, but I don't know. It's just after that last one, it just really, it almost read like something so personal, personally like motivated and whatever, that it's like I feel like I don't have a place here. So I'm going to do other things. So that's, I wasn't like, at first I was going to say this, and then like, so that's why I'm just like, we're leaving it open today. And then I was like, I haven't said it. I was like, it's fine. I won't say it. And now I've just said it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use that program. What I'm going to do is, instead of using the book for the shifting lines, if the I Ching doesn't shift, then the middle card will be for the I Ching, and the two cards on the outside will be like surrounding energies. If the I Ching does shift, Then the first card will be for the first I Ching. The middle card will represent the shifts, and the third card will be the I Ching that it shifts into. And I'm thinking that I'm going to pull cards maybe before and after. So the card itself, I'm going to put between lines 3 and 4. So, and I'm going to count away. Like between 3 and 4 is the center. 3.5 is the center. So if like the second line and the fourth line changes, then it'll be the card after, because it'll be 4. That's the first one. And then it'll be 2 cards before, because the card before is line 3. The card before that is line 2. The card before that is line 1. The card after the significator is line 4. After that is line 5. After that is line 6. And I mean, I guess I could. I don't know if I'm necessarily rolling the dice as well, or if we're just try to keep it more simple. But sometimes it's like attempting to make things more simple actually makes it more complicated. So there we go. Yeah, I believe I fixed the program. So now, if I uncheck the box, it'll like take that out of the text box instead of like keeping it. Interesting. I feel like I, I feel like I just got a whiff of like growth media. Like, so in microbiology, like if you're looking for bacteria, mold, stuff like that, you can set a plate of growth media out. And if anything comes in contact with it, it's a food source basically. So it'll like grow, it'll multiply. So you can see sort of like what's in the environment. And it's not necessarily growth media in a microbiology sort of sense, not necessarily specifically, maybe more generally, like something that she's giving like solar plexus. I think it was in the video that cut out where we saw the sacral and the solar plexus, but it's like the sacral was where the solar plexus should be, and the solar plexus was where the sacral should be. And so it was almost this energy of like, rather than the solar plexus, because the solar plexus is associated with nourishment, and almost by extension of that, it's associated with control, because not necessarily in a don't bite the hand that feeds you type of way, but in a like, not necessarily in a like a trigger kind of way either, but just like, you know, if something sustains us, if something fuels us, then we become dependent on that because it sustains and fuels us. It becomes like intertwined with our survivability. And so our survival instincts will sort of kick in to try to do whatever, right? And so if you could say like when we're self-sustained, then we are in control of ourselves. But if we're dependent or reliant upon something external to us, then we're not in control of ourselves. We're in control of whatever that thing is that sustains us. And so it almost read very like there's an idea that we have, or there's something that we desire, or there's something that we're, instead of like trying to create, it's almost like there was something that we're trying to like force. And since it's sacral leading, like all of the sustenance and stuff, it goes to, I guess you could say projection. It goes to whatever it is that we're kind of like projecting or trying to force. Right. And so the output or the outcome or the whatever of the situation depends on what that thing is. Right. And then there was the whole um, everything else. So that's kind of why, like with growth media, I guess the thing about growth media too, depending on the test that you're running or depending on what you're looking for, it's not necessarily selective. So anything and everything will grow. Maybe it's just my lot in life or my lot right now because there is an impression of like weeding, like you kind of want the weeds to grow so you can pull them. It's fine. I don't know if the eaching necessarily takes us there, but here we are. Here we go. Let's see. So this is 8 almost 20. 8:19. 8:19. Y'all know I like to put in the prompts. Let's make it a little bigger. 8:19 equals. Yeah, sure. Why not? Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. So that if you're not new here, y'all know how this goes. That takes me to He Who Fights with Monsters. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Rank. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Effect. Question mark, question mark, question mark. It's something that's so high ranked or something so alien that the system that is designed to help someone integrate into a world that is not their own can't categorize the thing. So it's something in He Who Fights with Monsters. It's something in like I watch a lot of isekai anime, and again, it's like there are people who are transported to reincarnated in another world, and as they make that transition, when they reincarnate or when they're transported, they get some kind of ability that helps them interact with and understand the world that they're born into or reborn into or transferred into. And so a lot of times it'll take the format of like a video game RPG system where you get like stats and skills and all this other stuff, right? There was one time there was someone from a world that wasn't that like didn't have video games, and her skill allowed her to basically take on the knowledge of people that she trusts and that trust her. And it was one of those, I guess, a Vulcan mind meld. I've never seen Star Trek, so I don't even know what a Vulcan mind meld is, but it feels like what a Vulcan mind meld sounds like. Interesting. I mean, I guess because again, the growth plate didn't necessarily feel like, or if it is bacterial or fungal or whatever, it's not like just bad bacteria. But that question mark, question mark, question mark is a little, but I guess we're getting into it. Sure. I would love for another. Is that I Ching number 4? The naive, the fool, like divination doesn't seek the naive. The naive seek divination. Naivety, naivete. Cool. Let's just go. Let's go. Let's roll the program. So that's what we're gonna do. The I Ching flips. I guess I'll click all of these, and if it doesn't give us anything, then it doesn't give us anything because it could always come up null. And a null result isn't one that you would get in real life unless like the dice fall on the floor or something like that. Because it's like you can't roll a d4 and get a zero. It's 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so on and so forth. But I coded it in a way because when I was originally writing the program, there was something that came up. There was some way that I wrote it where it could give a null result. And I loved it because it's like, because y'all know that I'm a huge proponent and fan of sometimes the High Priestess, a title card. Sometimes there are things that's not meant for us to know in that moment for whatever reason. And so including the null felt like leaving space for, I don't know, because I feel like even with a null, there are like different energies. We may get a null, we may not. What if we got all 6 nulls? That would be crazy. Probably won't happen, but now I almost want like slots, like a slot machine. Could you imagine? Could I code that? I mean, probably. I guess if I did it because these where I have the cards, I have GIFs and they're basically the same. Anyway, it's fine. Okay, let's continue. Are we ready? Let's breathe. If you see me sweating, it's because it's warm and I'm wearing this. Also, as a complete aside, when I was in London, like October 2025, last October, I took this hoodie with me. And one day I was like, you know what? I want to be different. So I was like, when we go out today, I'm going to wear the hoodie. It was like Halloween weekend. So I was neither like different or quirky enough to like stand out. It's like I was underdressed, you know? Everyone's in full cosplay, full costumes, and I'm just walking around with my bat hoodie. I mean, I guess I did stand out. I was doing less than the people who were dressing up, and I was doing more than the people who weren't. And so I was just there, kind of in the middle, like, wow, this isn't the moment I thought it would be. Anyway, it's cool. It's fine. All right, let's go. Let's just go. Let's just go. Why not? Cool. Also, it's fine. So we do have an I Ching that shifts. Double fire number 30. Is that 30 to 31? I don't think I've ever gotten a sequential number shift before. I've gotten like plus or minus 10, plus or minus 20. I'm looking for my glasses. Oh, right here. I'm like, hello. They should be nearby. Ace of Wands, Ace of Swords, Wheel of Fortune, I Ching number 30, Fire over Fire, shifting into I Ching number 31, Lake over Mountain. We have a null in the D100 and a null in the D6. So we got 2 nulls. What's interesting though is like the double heart, and then we have the magician, double heart, double magician. Okay, the sun, Capricorn, Sagittarius, heart, earth. See, I almost feel like the D100 and D100 and the D6, the two nulls, I feel like they're almost playing into that question mark, question mark, question mark. It's also interesting that to go from 30 to 31, 3 different lines had to shift. So this is I Ching number 30, double fire. I might put names in here, because if I put names in here, I might be able to bastardize the I Ching even more. I am so sorry. But I'm like, if I put the names in here, then I may not have to like look up the I Ching, and it's like, okay, yeah, just you know. So maybe we won't do that. At the very least, you know, I could do a little lookup. Um, the fact that 3 lines had to shift 1 in the ones place is interesting to me. Okay. Let me open the book of maps. So I'm pulling before and after the. No, I'm pulling the third card before, and then the second and third card after the Ace of Swords. What an interesting Ace of Swords. She's almost giving vain because the crown is spinning. You can see the wind moving, but I don't know if this is one of those like optical illusion type tricks where like if you like can you switch the direction the crown is spinning with your mind? Maybe it is. But what I immediately notice is it's interesting. It seems like the crown is spinning in a way that's opposite to the direction the wind is blowing. But I guess because I'm trying to think of like a pinwheel or something. If the thing that catches, I feel like if the thing that catches is on the front, then as the wind spins, it will move it sort of in the same direction, right? But if it's on the back, no. Like I feel like there's some kind of logical way this could happen where like the wind, like there's momentum in this direction, but it's pushing the thing to spin in like the opposite direction. And my brain is, I'm already out of water, which is probably good because I'm probably going to have to run to the bathroom at least once if this is long enough. But I guess we have the Wheel of Fortune. Maybe that plays into that energy. Because again, it was like there was, so after the growth thing, there was almost an energy of like weeds, right? It's like the weeds grow a lot faster than everything else. And so you can pull the weeds, and like weeds don't necessarily carry like a great energy connotation. They don't carry a great energy because of the connotation that's associated with the weed. But then it was that like question mark, question mark, question mark energy, which is there is something happening that our way of interpreting and interacting with the world cannot appropriately, adequately, even remotely like provide what's the word? Exposition? Question mark for? An explanation for. Keep it simple. But again, I feel like at first I'm bewildered, but when I look at it, I'm like, I feel like it's not as bewildering as I think it is. So like I have this um rescued this magnifying glass. You see that? My eye is upside down. It may be easier with something else. I took was it physics 172? or 214. I don't know. I took electricity, magnetism, and optics a long time ago. I took it twice. I think I dropped it the first time, or maybe I retook it because I wanted to like boost my GPA and I had a spot for a class. The second time I took it with like the professor that ran the program. I think I dropped it the first time. And I actually went to office hours, and I was so like, there was something about electricity, magnetism, and optics that really caught my attention, and that made sense in a way that regular physics just like did not. I struggled with physics. I didn't understand physics until I was like deep in the application of it. It wasn't until like fluid dynamics that I understood physics really. Like I understood enough to pass the class, but maybe that's indicative of me in reality in general. Um. Oh, what deck am I gonna use? So basically, there's this thing with magnets. Magnets. There's this thing with mirrors and magnifying glasses that you have like real versus virtual question mark images. So basically, if the magnifying glass is far enough from the thing you're observing, it'll like invert the image. But if you bring it closer, see, now my eye is upright. See, there's my nose, there's my mouth, there's my eye. I move it up, you get to my eye. And it's like a magnified image. But if you're further away, it's upside down. And I looked at that before I went live because I moved the magnifying glass. And I held it up. I was watching, I think it was So True, the episode where Caleb had his mom on there, or one of them. And I just like held it up, and it was like upside down. And then I knew I was gonna go live to do whatever this is. um, and you know what? Give me one. I grab this. Thank you, and see if I can't demonstrate it that way. Ooh, okay. Didn't mean to do that. Might make it a little easier. Might make it a little easier. I also found this. I was like, wow. OMG. I completely forgot about this. Okay. All right. So let's try this. Right. Here's this. You see that? Thank you and happy holidays. It's upright, but when it's further, is this not going to work? Why am I okay? I was like, am I lagging? Hello, what's going on? I don't know if this is gonna work because, or is there like an in between? See, yeah, there you go. It's upside down, right? Now, I wish I could like, you see it? Now it's right side up. You actually got to see it flip. And now it's in reverse again. Now it's right side up. Now it's in reverse. It worked. Cool. So I don't know if that like distance perspective, I'm not sure. I clocked that before I went live. I don't know. Maybe we should get into the I Ching. I still don't know what deck I'm necessarily going to use, but maybe the I Ching will inform me. So, Double Fire is represented by the Ace of Wands, which, you know, is appropriate. I Ching number 30. I Ching number 31 represented by the Wheel of Fortune, which is Lake Over Mountain. Lake Over Mountain? It is low key. That's fine. That's I Ching number 30. This is I Ching number 31. Sorry. I don't know if anyone would be sensitive to something like that. Uh, cool. All right, now let's open the book of maps. I got this great PDF reader program when it was free. And it was something that was so great that they couldn't let it be free forever. Which I'm not mad at because I use it. You know what I mean? It is a great program, especially when all the stuff is free. Now, I did have the idea to potentially look at this through the deck dungeon challenge system in the Fable Maker's animated tarot, because you compare it with the Dungeons and Dragons campaign. The major arcana represent boons, the minor arcana represent challenges, and if you overcome the challenge, then sometimes you get something, sometimes you just progress forward. Now I know with the Ace of Swords, with the Suit of Swords, a lot of their deck dungeon challenges are word bridges. I feel like the concept of bridges has been coming up a lot lately. Like I just watched a Vivi Fluorite Eyes song, maybe. And she became like the bridge between AI and humanity. I was watching something else, and there was like a bridge between like the heavens and the earth or something like that. I feel like I've actually saw that in a few different things. Like I said, I watch a decent amount of anime. I play video games. It's not a like a topic that's not, at least, like it's not rare. I feel like in the media that I indulge in. I don't want to say entertain myself with, like a bridge between the heavens and the earth. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a fairly common bridge if there is a bridge. 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, 30. Emotional attachment clinging is double fire with the Ace of Wands. And then attraction, influence, and chemistry is I Ching number 31. Have I? Maybe I have. I'm like, have I seen this one before? There's 64 of them. I've had the Book of Maps for a hot minute, but I'm sure there are some I've never actually read. So, I Ching number 30, where this starts, signified by the Ace of Wands. You are clinging on emotionally. You hope you can depend or rely on one who you have attached yourself emotionally to. Yet, for the matter at hand, clinging is auspicious. Nurturing and caring for the fertile cow will bring prosperity. Though you cling, do persevere. You must burn with fire from within and not rely on the external burning of fire. The luminous fire must start from within and burn outward. Clinging and emotional attachment is auspicious if the inner fire itself burns bright. I feel like that's almost playing into that solar plexus energy, with it like the solar plexus is associated with sustenance and, to a further degree, control. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual sustenance, the whole gamut. Oh, that actually works. So I can use the Ace of Wands. It could be a challenge since the Ten of Wands is a boon. It's like the challenge is successfully overcome, and the boon is what's granted for having overcome the challenge. And then the Ace of Swords, it elongates, elaborates, zooms into a challenge, and it not serializes it. What is happening? I'm like lagging. I don't know how much of this is gonna go up. Also, I am using my hotspot from my cell phone because for some reason my laptop is like struggling to connect to the Wi-Fi. But also, there's probably a bunch more devices I just put on the. It's fine. I could have restarted it. I was like, it's fine. If it uploads, it uploads. If it doesn't, okay. Hold up. Yeah, 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 yeah. Let me hold up. Okay, yeah. I'm like, wait, is this an I Ching match? It is. Okay, so this shifts to the bottom line, and then the top two lines shift to change that into attraction, influence, and chemistry. Receive others with humility and non judgment. Let the people move you, and you will move the people. Reciprocal attraction. Mutual influence. Young lovers are joyous and prosperous. It is auspicious for you to proceed with your endeavor. Change is coming, though no one seems to sense it. The beginnings of movement. An idea begins to surface. However, whether the influence will have an impact remains to be seen. It is still too early to tell. So, Wheel of Fortune with the change here, obviously. Change is coming, though no one seems to sense it. The beginnings of movement, an idea begins to surface. Again, I feel like that kind of plays into that growth media. It's fine. All right. From what's this one? Lee to Xian. This Xian almost looks familiar. Prosperity again on both of these. Also, we have young lovers, right? In chemistry. Young lovers are joyous and prosperous. Well, that because of the clinging here. Okay. All right. And okay. So we got young lovers. We have the clinging. Also, we have the sun, right? There's an internal fire and the external burning of fire. Two magicians kind of giving that love youngers, that young lovers energy. I feel like, are we like Capricorn and Sagittarius? What I like about Capricorn and Sagittarius, Capricorn is giving subterranean because it's like the foundations that things are like built upon, right? It's cardinal earth. So it's like, you know, all of the stuff that goes like all of those earthly things that goes into making life on earth a thing. Right. So I don't know if it's necessarily giving like nitrogen and phosphorus and sulfur, like atoms, atoms, elements, ammonia. Now I'm thinking about the azaleas that grow in basic soil. Rather, no, it's acidic. I'm pretty sure azaleas grow in acidic soil. And so, depending on what you're growing, the growth conditions may be different. That was Caleb Heron laughing and Trixie Mattel. It was a YouTube short. Azalea soil. I'm pretty sure it's acidic. Loose, well draining soil with acidic pH between 4.5 and 6. Yes. So it's like depending on what you're growing, the conditions may be different for other things. Now, what I got a whiff of was general growth media, and it didn't necessarily feel selective. But back to this, it's like what is the conditions that are favorable for one thing may be toxic or dangerous to another. Not everything thrives, literally thrives in acidic soil. Some things I'm sure need neutral soil, other things I'm sure maybe need slightly basic soil. Um, and so, yeah, the Capricorn is giving that like foundation, and Sagittarius is giving like maybe up in the sky. Not, it's not Aquarius though. Is it not Aquarius because Aquarius is traditionally ruled by Saturn, so that would be a double Saturn energy? Or is it not Aquarius because it's not so far out? Right? Like Sagittarius is global energy, Aquarius is galactic. Potentially intergalactic, since you know it is kind of like space and constellations and the stars. I mean, Jupiter is pretty far out there, but you can see Jupiter without a telescope? Question mark. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are the ones that are further out. Anyway, we have this Saturn Jupiter connection between Capricorn and Sagittarius. Also, yeah, they're connected. Capricorn and Sagittarius, that is leading up to and after the Northern Hemisphere winter equinox and the Southern Hemisphere summer equinox. Cardinal Earth and mutable fire. Oh, with the sun. Yeah, okay. Oh, I feel a memory. I feel a thought. There's a thought right there. It's a name. Or was it a game that I played? I feel like it was yesterday. So it's fresh. It's probably an anime that I watched. Oh, there was some character, and there was something about a star. Maybe tonight wasn't a great night to go live. That's fine. It is what it is. Because with the two magicians and the sun, I mean, I guess like the conditions to make a star, that's only like one part of the equation. There are plenty of environments, systems in the sky that have favorable conditions for like a star to form, but not all conditions produce a star, and not all stars are stable long enough for life to whatever. And there was something, I don't know if it was someone's like name. Now I feel like the more that I talk about this, the more I'm like, oh, was I dreaming? Or did I actually see this? Because I feel like it was like yesterday or the day before. I feel like I was watching something and it was very like, it was that like the formation of a star. But it was a question of like, is a star actually going to form with these cosmic gases and gravitational forces and whatnot? Or is it going to just, be basically like a flash in the pan? I also love, because again, we have that heart, those two hearts with that clinging and young lover's energy. Two magicians, two hearts, one Capricorn, one Sagittarius, sorry, one Capricorn, one Sagittarius. We have the sun there. Now, you could, and I probably will. I'm going to go for the tarot apocalypse. You could. I'm going for the tarot apocalypse because the energy of this sun has come out recently in terms of like the sun beyond the sun, Mithras, the further gate type energy that came out recently. The context of it, I don't fully remember, to be completely honest. And that would play into this question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, null, null energy. Also, no, I think Ophiuchus is more so on that Scorpio Sagittarius side than it is. I'm pretty sure it's more Scorpio Sagittarius than it is Sagittarius Capricorn. But even that might be. Okay, let's just give me a moment. I'm gonna go grab this deck. I almost got into this. I mean, I wasn't gonna grab this deck, but I'll be right back. I won't go far. I'll be right here, but you can't see me. Did y'all know that Hugh Laurie is British? He's English. House from the House, Dr. House. I'm like, what? I'm maybe some of y'all knew that. It was news to me like a month ago when I found out. Oh. All right. I am feeling like I kind of need something to drink, but also, again, I'm not trying to be running to the restroom. I mean, I guess if I'm sweating on this thing, I am going to feel like I need something to drink, huh? That is logical. But maybe if I sweat out enough, I won't have to eliminate the water. Let me stop. Okay. Oh, you're right here. Cool. I'm through accepting limits because someone said they're so. One of my favorite songs ever. I feel like Defying Gravity just like speaks something to my soul. You know what I mean? Also, it's fine. We don't have to tangent. I mean, it may be relevant, but we ain't got to go there. We can be whatever. We could be heroes just for one day. I think it's We Could Be Lovers or something. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen Moulin Rouge. Actually, back in my Apple days, and by Apple days, I mean I still have an iPad when I had an iPhone. Back in the days when you bought digital media instead of streaming digital media, I only own a handful of movies digitally, and the only one I own on the Apple Store is Moulin Rouge. I ended up buying it. I was like obsessed with it. Like the first 5 times I saw that movie, I cried every time. The next like 10 times I saw that movie, I cried every other time. And now I cry a lot less. But it's also been a while since I've seen the movie. So I don't know. There was just something about like the circumstance and situationality of all of it for them to get to the part. I don't want to spoil it. It's fine. I'm just like, sometimes life kind of low-key is the villain. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's give this. Well, that's one. Ooh. That's two. That's three. And a cut for the half. Bottom of the deck is the Hanged Man. The card that came out is the Queen of Pentacles. And I believe she's Lakshmi. I don't know if this is necessarily relevant. You ever feel like, why am I opening this book? I'm pretty sure that's Lakshmi. Oh, look, open right up to her. Lakshmi, goddess of fortune and prosperity. So there's a whole bunch of prosperity. Excuse me. Prosperity is like over a lot of stuff. The Hangman at the bottom of the deck. I really wish I could remember. It's fine. Now I have. Is it Nicole Kidman and is that Ewan McGregor? Not gonna lie, low-key, there are some actors who play certain characters, and I feel like I fall for the character that they play. And then outside of that character, there's just like nothing. You know, personality is a huge part of attraction for me, so it makes sense. It makes sense. Oh, snap. Hey, Janelle, how's it going? Impacted. Wait, what? What's impacted? I feel like I've been an old man for a long time. I've never been young ever. I'm kidding. Okay. All right. What do we have on this Wheel of Fortune? We have Anubis, a Sphinx, and a snake. There's a kingdom in that Ace of Wands. Let me grab my handy dandy magnifying glass. No, I'm kidding. Let me see. I feel like there's a window in that castle. There's this like little blue dot. There's a window in that castle. Yeah. That's also very true. I keep like minimizing this window. When I minimize the window, it minimizes like it has to be open to show the. I feel like I am who I am. You are where you are. If you're not new to this, like, y'all know. Because I'm like, it's one of those like, wait, like the energy of this did come up. All right. So we're looking 3 cards before, and I'm doing this with the knowledge. Yeah, because you build the hexagram from the bottom to the top, and then I'm reading this from the back of the deck to the front of the deck, so it's fine. I'll pull it in the same order. So that's 3 cards before the Ace of Swords, the 2 cards after, and then the card after that. So, yeah. No problem. It's nice to see you. It's been a minute. I feel like today, like, I got some recall. Sometimes I'll be like, wait. Uh-oh, Chino's outside. Chino's like, get on with it. All right, all right, all right. I should have just flipped the Ace of Swords. How did I forget about my hack? Am I going to flip it now? Or am I going to keep going? We're already here now. It's fine. Looking for the Ace of Swords. No. Ace of Wands. Okay, here we go. Ace of Swords. I'm trying to. There we go. All right. So this was 3, 2, 1. 2 of Wands is the first line that changed. There's the Ace of Swords. I'm just going to put this back. That's 3. No, that's 3.5. That's in the in-between. This is 4, 5, and 6. The world is interesting. The world would be like number 7, and temperance would be 0. So this hexagram lies between temperance and the world. For context, the all gifted is behind the world, and the chariot is behind that temperance. For a little bit more context. Death and the lovers. Okay, that's fine. We're not gonna. It's fine. There we go. Let's do it like that. And then the Queen of Pentacles that fell out, you can be right there. So, the Magician is one of the cards that came out. Okay, so the first line shifts on the Two of Wands. The second line shifts on the Magician. And we already see the Magician twice, so, you know, not surprised there. Actually, interesting. The third line, the first line shifted on the Two of Wands. The fifth line shifted on the Magician. The top line, sixth line, shifts on the Nine of Cups. I don't know if I know what the deck dungeon challenge for the Ace of Wands is. I know for all the other Wands cards, it's like defeating lava monsters and magma elementals in a room where there's lava. This is a constellation. Oh, I wish I knew what constellation this was. Is that Virgo? Oh goodness. I'm gonna Google it. It may be a combination, to be honest. I wonder if it's fine. Zodiac constellations. Let's go to the images. Okay, girl. Thank you. I was like, okay, make it easy for me, please. It's Virgo. It is Virgo. I was like, is that Virgo? I mean, it's closest to Virgo. It's at least inspired by Virgo because it's none of these other ones. But it's like simplified by and large. Yes. Yeah, that fits. That tracks. There's that. Yeah. Yeah, it's Virgo. I mean, Virgo, like, it's got a, yeah. Interesting. Anyway, which I guess isn't surprising because it's almost Virgo season. Leo season is almost over. And there was something about a gift from Virgo. Um, Ace of Chalices, Ace of Scepters, Ace of Wands. Ace of Swords, really quick. 4 flying swords hover in the middle of this room. As soon as a creature comes within 15 feet of one of the swords attack. Each sword has a string of letters engraved along its blade. If the swords are grappled in this Okay, if the swords are grappled in a certain order, they allow themselves to be held. If they are grappled in any other order, they continue to fight. If a sword is reduced to 0 hit points, it falls inert to the floor. If the swords are placed side by side, the following sequence can be read across their blades. Touch us to the door at once to open. Putting all 4 swords into contact with the door at the same time causes it to unlock. 3 of the swords vanish when the door unlocks, and the 4th sword drops to the floor inert. The letters on the sword change to spell sharp-witted. The sword is now a dancing sword and can be taken from the room when exiting. Sorry. Not dancing queen! Playing in my brain! It's fine. What happens if all the swords fall inert? Oh, wait. I think you could still read it if it falls inert. Right? It's not like the letters are magically engraved so that like if they fall inert, then the magic that power, you can't read it. But if you grab them in order, then you don't have to fight them. Almost, you ever feel like I feel like I ask this question all the time. Not that I've like bitten off more than I can chew, because I feel like at this point I've just learned to chew and chew and chew and chew. There's an element of order to this. There's an element of order because if you grab the swords in order, you don't have to fight them. But I feel like that inertness is also a little concerning. Also, cute. I see you work. Okay, I was looking for the Ace of Wands anyway. Ace of Wands in Afriti stands guard in this room. It attacks as soon as anyone enters. The door unlocks once it is defeated. Oh, okay. Simple enough. I'm assuming an Afriti is some kind of Ifrit type, monster. Let's go. Afriti. This is D5, right? 5e. Hold up. These are not looking like. It's a large elemental. It's a lawful evil elemental, too. Armor class of 17, 200 hit points. Has a fly speed. It has a walking speed of 40 and a fly speed of 60. It flies faster than it walks. 22 strength, 12 dexterity, 24 constitution, 16 intelligence, 15 wisdom, 16 charisma. Oh my goodness. It's immune to fire. It has dark vision and a passive perception of 12. Elemental. So the traits of the Afriti. If the Afriti dies, its body disintegrates in a flash of fire and a puff of smoke, leaving behind only equipment the Afriti was wearing or carrying. Isn't that like a flash in the pan? A flash of fire and a puff of smoke. Innate spellcasting. The Afriti's innate spellcasting ability is Charisma. Spell save DC 15. +7 to hit with spell attacks. It can innately cast the following spells requiring no material components. At will, it can cast Detect Magic. 3 times a day, it can cast Enlarge and Reduce, and also Tongues. Once a day, it can cast Conjure Elemental, only fire elementals, Gaseous Form, Invisibility, Major Image, Plane Shift, and Wall of Fire. The Afriti makes 2 scimitar attacks or uses its Hurl Flame twice. With the scimitar, reach of 5, 1 target, attack +10. It hits for 13 slashing damage +7 fire. Hurl Flame is a ranged spell +7 hit. 120-foot range, 1 target, hits for 17 fire damage. 17 fire damage is literally no. It's 3 less than 13. 7, 20. What is it wearing? It has natural armor and it was a scimitar. Anyway, it's this like fire demon creature. Oh wait, yeah. That was it. Okay, so there's the Afriti. The boon for the Wheel of Fortune is there are 2 boons listed. The party does not receive a specific boon, instead accepting the comings and goings of fate, or When anyone in the party makes an attack roll, their rolls of 19 and 20 are critical hits, and their rolls of 1 and 2 are critical failures. I feel like we should roll a d20 for fun. That's fine. Interesting that one of the boons is to like not receive a boon, but just to accept the comings and goings of fate. Accepting the comings and goings of fate is very like, because one like a boon is a prize, right? And with it can't be. With that a free tea, it's like the prize for defeating the Afriti is that you get to accept the comings and goings of fate. So I don't know if like the Afriti had some kind of energetic, of course, if the Afriti had some kind of effect on the way that things play out. I mean, it's a lawful evil fire demon, you know. So I feel like it's not great. It's lawful evil, so it will never work out for anybody, really. It's lawful evil. It's one of those like when you team up with the bad guy and then they betray you and they're like, I'm a bad guy. Like, what did you expect? He's like, I'm lawful evil. Did you expect loyalty out of me? Did you expect me to deliver on any of my promises or whatever? Hello, I'm evil. It's like, but it's like, girl, come on. And it's funny because like that's the first comment. Warlock Noble Genie Pack, the patron is an Afriti, sends you out to claim riches, treasure, and other slaves. In exchange, promises to give you freedom, but never gives you freedom. And he's like, girl, you're doing my bidding and I'm evil. Why would I ever give you your freedom? Hello? Anyway. Go on, Chino. Let them know what's up. Goodness. Um, Back to this. This tool. Oh, yeah. So, okay. These are the tools. Is this a challenge after a challenge, or is this the? I feel like this is the bridge. This is the navigating in between. This is how it shifts from the Ace of Wands to. Oh, I was gonna say, and it's an Ace of Swords. Duh, it's an Ace of Swords. That's why it was a challenge. Now the Ace of Swords, when you overcome the trial, one of the swords you get to keep, and it's a dancing blade. Maybe the fact that it's a dancing blade, maybe that's where the imagery is supposed to come in, right? Because if it were natural, then you would expect for the crown to spin in the same direction that the wind is moving in. And the fact that the crown is spinning backwards, it can conjure to mind an image of sentience. What is it? Reincarnated as a sword, season 2, coming back in October, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. So the interesting thing is, the magician in this deck, I literally have the book, so I'll just read it. I talk about it all the time, literally all the time. That's the Empress, who is a Nana. The magician, the all gifted is Pandora. Oh, yeah. So number 0 is on the table. I guess technically the Fool is number 0. But in that question mark type of way, it'd be like the all gifted. And we got 2 nulls, right? The magician is from the divine chaos came light and a word of power that created the universe. Okay, girl. Sure, we'll read up to the part. The smallest and the greatest parts of this world alike were pulled from nothingness into blazing life manifested in given form. This was the path of magic, of will and energy directed into creation. This is the path you also can tread with words of power and the invocation of divine names. Follow my mysteries, and I will show you how to draw down the very angels and manifest their wisdom within yourself. I will show you how to control the heavens and the earth, the sun and the sea. I will give you dominion over all things before you. When I ascend towards the divine, it descends towards me. At that point of meeting, the universe is recreated. In me, divine fire is transformed into the waters that nourish the earth. There it is. In my actions, my will and energy are directed towards a goal. My mysteries are those of focus and will, active creation and manifestation. Walk my roads, and I shall show you your nature as a conduit of the divine, that you may project your will into the world and make it anew with each word you speak. I feel like it was like more plainly like heavenly fire is water on earth. He acts as a conduit between heaven and earth, drawing down divine energy and channeling it into the mundane world. He performs magic. This is not only results magic to gain mundane results, however. It is also mysticism and magical practices that lead to an ascent towards the divine. Now, I was going to say it's interesting because I know there is that heavenly fire, water on earth, and the magician sits between the Two of Wands and the Nine of Cups, between fire and earth. Also, again, there's been an energy of like bridges, and literally the bridge is here between heaven and the earth. So, like I said, I've been seeing that one quite a lot, but that's like fair game. I feel like that's a pretty common bridge to see. You know what I mean? When it comes to non-literal bridges, and is this giving an energy of that like that dwarven magic flair? I feel like kind of yes, because it's like if you're looking for a bridge, you're not necessarily looking for a physical bridge. You may be looking for a metaphorical bridge. A metaphorical bridge between the heavens of the earth could be something like lighting incense and prayer and anything that kind of connects the mundane to those divine realms or to the divine. I think I had this dream. I did have this dream. I had this dream years ago. I think I had this dream roughly 2 years ago. I feel like I had that dream not too long before I met Eve. Because I remember telling her about it. I'm pretty sure I told her about it. And I told her about it because I had like recently had the dream. You know what I mean? I had a dream one time. I think I recorded it. Let's see if I did. I had a dream one time that there was an Ifrit. I'm pretty sure. There was stuff going on and things were happening. Speaking of Ophiuchus, in that sort of realm. Anyway, give me one moment. Oops. I always do that. If I type Ifrit, oops. September 2nd, 2024. How interesting that this dream comes. So the top part of this dream I had a dream that the world turned against one of my friends. Her name is Summer. I protected her from outside a room she went into when no one could pass, no matter how many gathered. Someone then pulled me into the room and told me that I was ruining a trap that they had set. Like, so my friend was basically bait, but I didn't know my friend was bait. All I knew was that the whole world had seemingly turned against her for no reason all of a sudden. And I was like, not on my watch, over my. I was like, hey, girl, go in this room. I'm going to stand guard and trust and believe ain't nobody making it through me. Ain't nobody going to get past me. And they didn't. And then someone came from inside the room. They were like, what are you doing? They're like, you're ruining the whole thing. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm protecting my friend. They were like, no, like it was a trap. Your friend is fine. And there was a whole bunch of people that took the bait, but nobody got past the door. I don't know what the rest of the plan was. It was a dream. Okay. And I feel like the reason why I'm like, it's interesting that it came up now is because, like I said at the top of this, like with the last few readings, as I'm reading it, it really just kind of seems like time for things to kind of play out. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's me, like, how can I be useful or helpful or whatever, whatever. But it really, and I feel like that's something to kind of discern, honestly, if I'm being like a little bit more transparent, because I'm like if you see something, then you say something, right? But if you see something and you're told not to say nothing, then it like, is it for the good of the person that's about to have an experience, or is it a trick to not help people? Help. If anything I do is helpful, I'm sure to some it is. Okay. So anyway, where's the part with the free? It's interesting. So in this dream, there was someone who felt they had a debt of gratitude to their savior, who was the quote unquote bad guy in the dream. And that's interesting because, again, with that Afriti and that energy of like all of the things that it promises, like even when it helps, it's evil. So, you know what I mean? It's lawful evil. It's not like neutral evil. It's not chaotic evil. It's lawful evil. It's evil because it's evil. It's evil for the sake and purpose of being evil. Like its purpose is to be evil, and it will always be evil. Also, it's a non-human character. So, not to say that, villain. Anyway, where's the start? This dream sound like a lot. Y'all don't know why I'm laughing, but sorry. I'm probably being a little loud. It's late. It's just late. There's a hallway between rooms. Okay. So where is it? So basically, so that happened. There was like a court type setting, right? It was like a courtroom. There was someone who's like, I already told you about that guy. I got a bet. I was like, this is dumb. This is stupid. I'm out of here. So, but when I was leaving, I got a bad feeling and I requested permission to approach like the judge about it. Right. The judge slash commander. No, no, no. After I finished telling the judge slash commander, yeah, somebody walked through the doors, tried to grab somebody in the back, and I confronted him. That was one of those nights where it was a whole bunch of action and people protecting, and every night, yeah, every night you get dreams where you're fighting all kinds of stuff. Right. So there was walls of protected wind, stuff like that, which was an element from a dream I had in the past, which was interesting. This is one of those dreams that I had where there have been like there were a lot of elements of dreams that I had in the past, but in the past those dreams were like challenges, right? So like this wall of wind that was a protective element in this dream. I had another dream, which is interesting because I was about to talk about this dream maybe a month or two ago. When is her name Akasha? When she was like trending, and it's because I had a dream a while ago that there was like the return of some old feminine god, and she had killed like all the men in the place. The only men that were spared in the dream were it was men who were not balding that were married to like women. So like if they weren't balding and their wife was present, then they were spared. Otherwise, all the men were gone. And so I did a tour around the pyramids. I'm like, hey, she's back. Is somebody gonna do something about her? Or is it just over for us? And there was like this whole thing that they had done trying to like appease her because she had been like banished, sealed, whatever for a long time. She wasn't up with the customs, so they had like kind of tricked her into like this custom or whatever that like was totally made up. But it was like one of those like in the moment on the spot type things, totally made up, but was almost like something of like resonance to it. Like they thought they were making it up, but it was like an actual thing. But that didn't last long because the person, it was like some kind of singing tribute type whatever. The person who was singing was famous. People wouldn't stop bothering her, so it fell apart real quick. And then that feminine old guy was back on her stuff. But yeah, when that clip of Akasha sort of like went viral enough for me to see it on the internet and I don't watch the show, it reminded me of that dream. So in that dream, I'm pretty sure it was that dream. There was like this sort of game that we had to play to escape with our lives. And there was one part, there were like, so there was a stage, and which is interesting because the wind is here and it's rotating. Okay, so if you look at the crown, there was like this stage, and there were these two um, walls made out of glass. So it's like see through, like you can't see it, but there were holes in the glass. And then there was like this wind that was going to blow through, and it's like it was one of those like slice and dice whipping and shredding. And so it was like you had to line up in a certain way to not be shredded by the winds. And that was the first dream I saw those winds in. And then in this dream, the winds were like protecting people from the intruder in this whole courtroom scenario type situation, turned arena, apparently. Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. Anyway, at one point, there was like an Ifrit that had burst in. But then an Ifrit came to fight me. Mm, basically, this is so in the dream, the way that I defeated the Ifrit is I introduced him to paradox. I didn't put quotes in the thing, but that's what it says. So his fires turned to ice, and I took care of him before he could adjust. I was like, before he figures out what happens, it was something like all of his fire turned to ice, and then I like ripped his heart out of his chest or something before he could rekindle the flames or oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I was looking at this flaming heart on the world card. In one hand she's holding the sword, and I was like, Ace of Swords, and then she's holding the flaming heart. That is wild. Yeah, I think, yeah. So that's how I defeated the Ifrit in my dream. Somehow I introduced him to Paradox and turned the fire into ice, and then just like smashed through the ice, grabbed his heart, ripped it out. And it was one of those like, I need to hurry up before either the ice melts, he catches on fire, or he embraces the paradox to the point of like, instead of being a lawful evil fire demon, he becomes a lawful evil ice demon. And then I got the same problem. You know what I mean? Wow, that flaming heart is kind of crazy, low key. See, it'd be little stuff like this. I'm like, I know I'm going on these like massive tangents, and I'm always talking about some kind of dreams, some kind of anime, some kind of this, some kind of that. But then you see the synchronicities in it, and I'm like, okay, like anyway. Why do I mention that? Because of the magician. With that whole like fire and water type thing, that's what made me think of the Ifrit in that dream. That's an interesting dream. There's there is a character associated with some kind of justice who is an infrequent character in my dream. I feel like she really first popped up when some real wild and real interesting things were happening or falling apart. And she showed up for somebody who wasn't me. And that person was like coming after me. So first, I'm just like minding my business, as I do. In the dream, somebody's like coming after me. But I had the sense that somebody was coming for them. And I was like, I don't want to be around when apparently, I'll say like an embodiment of like dark justice. Because I feel like there's an embodiment of justice that's kind of like knight in shining armor that shows up and like saves the day. But then there's almost a like vigilante Batman type of justice where it's, you know, like whatever's going on in that arena where they clean up their own messes type energy. And it was one of those clean up their own messes type energy. And I'm like, I'm not in this mess. I'm not in that mess. I'm not trying to be here when she show up. So I'm just like, because I know she's coming. And it's interesting because that's who the Ifrit was looking for in that dream, apparently. Which kind of like, I feel like to me it kind of doesn't make sense for the type of justice that was happening in the dream because it was like a courtroom type setting. I wouldn't have necessarily expected that embodiment of justice to show up. I feel like that almost plays into something that came out earlier, but it slipped my mind. Right. It's like it's like there are different kinds of just like even in is it the Justice card in the Orisha tarot where there are like three different Orishas associated with justice to like different degrees of severity, you could say, and in like they conduct justice in like different ways. And again, and it's just like if you're looking for that kind of justice, like she's not gonna be here. Like, hello, do you know where you are? It's like if you know someone's in the southern hemisphere, like if there's somebody associated with the season, let's say summer, and what a summer it's been. I wasn't going to talk about the tornadoes and the storms and the wildfires and the floods that are just like, oh my gosh, what? This summer's been crazy. But anyway, if there's someone associated with summer and we're looking at the summer equinox with Capricorn Sagittarius, when we move from Sagittarius season to Capricorn season, Capricorn is cardinal earth. It starts as season. In the northern hemisphere, that's winter. And I feel like something kind of like this energy came out, maybe not necessarily recently, where it was very like knowing what you're looking for, but then needing to know where to find it. If you're looking for something associated with summer and Capricorn season, why are you in the northern hemisphere where it's winter? And so it's basically winter in the Ifrit turn ice because it was winter and not summer. And then it was just like, I can make this real easy on me and just anyway. Anyway. I feel like that kind of gives this Queen of Pentacles a new energy with that Capricorn. See, Capricorn, Sagittarius has traveled enough to know that in December, it's summer in the southern hemisphere and it's winter in the northern hemisphere. Capricorn is well traveled enough to know that. Capricorn is global energy. Sagittarius. Have I kept saying Capricorn? Sagittarius is global energy. Sagittarius is well traveled enough to know that. Capricorn, on the other hand, with its deeply almost tied to the building blocks and at the fundamental level of stuff, it has a comprehension of like different things sort of happening on the like the different environments, ecosystems, locales, stuff like that, through its like cardinal earth connection. Capricorn would know that. Sagittarius has traveled enough to know that. I don't know. That's one personally like, where is this going? Where are we going? What's happening? I guess maybe if we play with that alignment of like lawful evil and when it can appear to be good, or when it makes promises that it has no intention of keeping. Because again, it's like it's lawful evil. You know, I feel like it's one of those things like if we're watching a movie, we go like, oh, like we know that person is lawful evil. Even if they came in and they saved the day when you were in a vulnerable place, even if they made all of these promises or whatever, we know that they're not going to honor that. And we know that them saving the day was a manipulation. Now, for the person in the situation who needed saving, like they still needed to be saved either way, but it's like at some point the character should have like a realization or a revelation or a moment where they like, I don't want to say like where they peep game, but it's like where they know like, oh, that person is not going to uphold their promise to me. And so even though like they save me or whatever, I need to get out before I lose things that can't be recovered. And I don't know if that's the paradox. I don't know if that's this moment of not necessarily divine intervention. And it feels like if it is divine intervention, it would be divine intervention through a person or like through an opportunity. Again, we're like the bridge isn't a physical bridge. The like divine intervention may not necessarily be like physical divine intervention. It may not be an angel descending from the heavens and scooping someone up and, doing whatever. It could be through a vessel, through a person. Because again, and we're in that sacral, solar plexus, whatever, with this Nine of Cups here and desire. And that's what I feel like, was that the last life? That's what that spoke to a lot. When it was like our base motivations, our desires, and the rubric, metric, how we like make choices or decisions or decide between paths. And it's funny. I forget why. It was probably an anime I was watching. I think it was either it was towards the end of that last live or it was towards the end of the one that didn't upload, where it was very like having noble expectations from people, energies, entities, whatever. That's not. No, I feel like that came out in cards. The last time I remember using cards, was that the eclipse or was it something else? Where it was very like, again, like expecting to not be betrayed, expecting loyalty or goodness from something or someone that does nothing but hurt and harm and endanger. I don't remember the context, but I remember it coming up. It was like a double energy. And it was a person, and the person was like a hypothetical person. It wasn't necessarily like as the cards came out, but it's like we in general sometimes can be so keyed into our desires and having our desires fulfilled that we abandon ethics and morality, for lack of a different phrase, where it's like, like I know that this may be something that I have to deal with later, but right now, like this is what I'm going to do. And later comes a whole lot sooner than we may have thought or anticipated. And again, and that it was like, it's devil energy. Like who expects devil energy? Who expects lawful evil to uphold promises or deliver, or you know what I mean? It's like trying to get blood from a stone type energy. And so I feel like it's kind of back in a way, but it's not. I don't know, for some reason with the Two of Wands, the Magician, and the Nine of Cups signifying the shifts and changes. Maybe we'll read it like that. Three things that changed, that went from this battle with an Afriti creature that you have to defeat to like you have to defeat the Afriti. Like it's not one of those like make a bargain, play in like fight fire, or what if you can't beat them, join them type energy. And I feel like humans living life, we see certain things as like, well, it's what I have to do, and if it's what everyone else is doing, and blah blah blah, whatever. The door unlocks once it is defeated. Now it's interesting because in the wand suit 2 through 10, with those you can defeat, incapacitate, or make unconscious the enemies, and the door will unlock. But the Afriti must be defeated. It can't be rendered unconscious or incapacitated. which I feel like brings an interesting foil to this because no, it doesn't resurrect or anything. It's a flash of fire and a puff of smoke. Right? Where was it? Elemental demise. Its body disintegrates in a flash of fire and a puff of smoke, leaving behind only the equipment the Afriti was carrying or wearing. Yeah, I was gonna say with the dancing blade, because the Afriti can make ranged and melee attacks. With the dancing blade, it gives you range, right? So if you can't get up close and personal because it's evasive or whatever, or it maintains range, thinking that you're limited in range, excuse me, with the dancing blade, that is the reward from the challenge of the Ace of Swords, it'd be doable. See, I feel like that also plays into that question mark, question mark, question mark energy a little bit. There's something about being able to see or gauge or interact with something in a way that we're not equipped to. But it's almost giving like mental, emotional, spiritual fortitude. There's something that this Afriti devil energy like preys on and plays upon, preys upon and plays on. Because the interesting thing with this Two of Wands is like this Two of Wands is reclined, resting, and there's a lot of like movement happening in the background. But in the foreground, there's nothing. Now, that again, that's preceded with temperance, but temperance is preceded by the chariot. I feel like I saw some video where like temperance came out recently, and it was one of those. A lot of people have mixed emotions when it comes to temperance. Almost one of those like sort of like knowing the context of a situation. It was almost a question of like why one would be irritated or frustrated to see temperance or patience or wait or whatever stand still. And it's almost like a red light. It almost read like it was like a red light type of situation where it's like, yes, of course, you would rather be going, but you know and you understand that if you were to enter the intersection when your light is red, then you're putting everyone in danger, like yourself and everyone else, but we'll limit it to ourselves. We put ourselves in danger when we go on a red light, like the red light, or it's like a train crossing. When you're gonna drive into a train, or you're gonna be on the tracks when the train comes through, like there's oncoming traffic. There are things that are happening in the red light. As much as it could irritate us that like we're not moving or whatever, like ultimately, okay, like we're not being hurt, harmed, we're not putting ourselves in danger, we're not in an accident because we're moving or going when we're supposed to be still or stopped. And maybe it's you could say situational appreciation awareness delusion. But like in my own personal experience, I've been in a pause for years now, and I feel like I haven't. I feel like there are moments when I've been ready for things to move, and I feel like I've talked about this just recently, but anyway, I feel like there have been moments where I've been ready for things to move, but it's like every step in this pause, like I've realized more and more, and I've healed more and more, and I've grown more and more. And it's like with all of everything that's been happening in this season of pause, it's like I wouldn't have survived. You know what I mean? Like the light was red for a reason. If I would have just slammed on the accelerate anyway, it would have been a mess. You know what I mean? It would have been a mess. I don't know. Anyway. And I feel like that dichotomy kind of sort of plays out here with like it's the chariot, which was movement, which had a certain element of alignment, and then it was temperance, which is like a pause, a stop, a refueling, and now it's this two of wands energy that's very like again in the foreground the character is still while there's a whole bunch of movement happening in the background. And I feel like that's almost like why when we have that like lawful evil Afriti associated with the Ace of Wands, and the Ace of Wands being the Ace of Wands, again, it's almost like, you know, Jesus wandering in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, where in a few days in, the devil shows up and he's like, hey, like, you're Jesus, you know, like, you're powerful. Like, if you're hungry, you can just turn those rocks over there into bread. And Jesus was like, I'm not going to do that. And it was like, why not? You're hungry. You're incarnated in a human body, physical vessel. You have to eat to survive. You want to die out here in the desert? And Jesus was like, going somewhere. But it's almost like there's a lot of, it's difficult. And circumstances aren't all the same. It's difficult to be in a situation where there is like a need or survivability is on the line. And maybe that takes us back to that solar plexus, but like a weakened solar plexus. If someone wasn't in control of themselves, then they could have given into that temptation because they were hungry and they had the power to not be. And that would have been a mistake. I feel like mistake is fine. Everybody makes mistakes. Right? Not all mistakes are necessarily like huge, life ending, life altering, whatever. Sometimes it's like a little flub, you know? You see the sweat? Um, yeah. And maybe like that's the whole, because again, I feel like there's something about the way that this Two of Wands magician, Nine of Cups reads, where like it doesn't feel like the Afriti was a challenge. Like at the point where someone came up against the Afriti, that is that Ace of Wands challenge. It wasn't challenged. They were like well prepared. Maybe that was the Ace of Swords that happened. Because again, the Ace of Swords it defines the transition. So even with that Ace of Wands, it's almost very, it might be the freedom card in the Threads of Fate Oracle cards. I haven't had that deck for a while. Um, but there was one of the cards in that deck where it's like the shadow of freedom was not taking on any responsibility. And so like in a desire to be like free and in a desire to like be high vibe, whatever, it neglected so many responsibilities to the point that it actually put them in a worse position. So it's like they sacrificed long-term freedom in order for short-term whatever. Isn't that, I don't know, I feel like that is kind of wild about lawful evil devil type energy. It's like it won't necessarily honor any promises, but it will never forget to collect what it is owed. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you not forget to collect the debts that you're owed, but you never pay out what you're supposed to, according to the, all of this other stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I'm evil. What can I say? Uh, and it's like, wow, yeah, I guess so. I feel like this magician almost feels like insider information, low key. Because it's like this angel has approached this man, and the angel's like, hey, yeah, just chill, just chill out. I know it looks like everything is moving in the background right now, but when stuff starts to play out, trust me, you're going to be glad that you're safe in your home rather than out there in the elements. And then the Nine of Cups is like cut to, I don't know, 10 weeks, 2 years, a decade later, where someone's like, where they've made it, quote unquote, and they're sitting back like, again, it kind of sort of plays into that, like, instead of sacrificing the short term for long term later confinement or whatever, it takes the rest in the moment and has that long term prosperity, because prosperity loves to be the hot word here lately. And it's interesting how this Queen of Pentacles, Goddess Lakshmi, prosperity comes up when there is that Afriti energy that makes the promise of riches and spoils, but it doesn't intend on delivering that promise. Ultimately, we've been here before. That's fine. There's something about the all gifted, though, because I feel like the world almost symbolizes the realm of things that we can comprehend and understand. But with the all gifted beyond that, I feel like that's that question mark, question mark, question mark energy too. Of the things that we don't currently have a basis for knowing and understanding. So that could be, again, when we're talking about like short term and long term type of things, it's like there could be something about how a situation is navigated now, or there was something about how a situation was navigated in the past that is a boon now, or that will be a boon in the future. And it's not a boon where we need to receive anything. We can let fate just play out because almost like something has already been proven or a precedent has already been set. And it's the kind of precedent that makes waves, especially in one's own life. Is this let's see. Yeah, and then we have the element of earth. We have the Queen of Pentacles, which is Queen of Earth type energy. I feel like that is the dichotomy, question mark, of a conscious experience on earth. It's all of the different needs and desires that we hold. And it's like there are things like what's good for us to grow mentally and emotionally, and what's good for our physical development and growth, what's good for our spiritual development and growth, and how complete of an experience we are capable of having. But the whole thing is like Earth, if you think about it, right? Because there are certain things that someone or an organism needs to survive, but then there are also ways where like they adapt and evolve and change. And if you're looking at like a Darwinian type of evolutionary model, it's survival of the fittest. The best adapted to a situation survives, reproduces, and so on and so forth. Because of the circle of life, right? If there are two different colorations of an animal, of a prey animal, and if the predator is more easily able to see one of the variations that don't blend in as well as the other one, well, that's the one that's going to be eaten. And if they're eaten and they don't survive and they're not alive, then they can't reproduce. And so you get more and more and more of the other sort of colorations. But again, I've been thinking about that. So journeying and peregrination a lot over this past few days, specifically maybe like the past 48 hours. At first, I was just chilling. And then I had a thought of like going live or whatever, but it was like, it doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't read like anything that I can speak to, question mark, because it seems so like even with this to go up against an Afriti or to be faced with our deepest desires and like just surviving, what is there that anyone external to oneself can say to whatever? At least it's like what can I do? What can I say? It all seems so like deeply personal or whatever, you know, that I'm just like, I think part of this temperance has been because it's almost like a slow mixing process with these two. For some reason, it's like you don't want to add it too quickly. Excuse me. If you're making some kind of whatever, maybe if you add like if there's a congealing agent or a thickener, if there's a thickener, and if you add it too quickly, then it may like clump up, and it's like you want it to be like thick but not clumpy, and so you like slowly add it over a period of time, and you're like mixing it on the heat, low heat, high heat, whatever heat. The all gifted very rarely comes out, extremely rarely. For as much as I would love for this energy to show up, it does not. And again, we have two nulls, and there was that whole like, well, what does a null even mean? So how I read these, it changes. It's not necessarily consistent. If anything were consistent with me, it's inconsistency. You know, there are some arenas in life where I'm a lot more consistent, specifically work, because my earth houses are placed in such a way that the only place I really find organization or whatever is at work. But anyway, where the nulls are placed, one of them is receiving. rather than like doing or expressing. Even like Pandora didn't necessarily know what she had when she had the box, and it's not necessarily giving Pandora's box. But again, for that double null energy, for the energy of like Mithras to peek out the sun beyond the sun, the farther gate, for it to be like if the world is inside of this portal, let's hold it up this way. Inside of the portal is the world. So she stepped out into this different space and she's receiving something. Again, for one of those nulls to be in the space of receiving. And that's like in the chakra space, which is related to like the energetic body or the subtle body. See, that window on the castle was low key. I mean, I feel like this energy is, it'll come out here, it'll come out there, it'll come out everywhere. It's that Bodhisattvic Elysian, Enochian, Sandalphonic, uh, come on, Psyche and Cupid. Type energy. And it feels like that's kind of what's slowly been added in this temperance energy because of an alignment that somebody holds. So there's almost this energy of like alignment and potency. So she's almost giving vinegar in how easily like vinegar overpowers everything. It's like something is so potent. Or she's also giving, is it iodine and magnesium? Or is it something else? I feel like it's some kind of magnesium salt or some kind of magnesium compound. It's like if you add it to a solution and there's like iodine in it, then it turns purple or black or something. It's almost like that. And it's like you're trying to combine two things that easily interact. So you have to do it in a certain type of way. I feel like this has gone off the rails. I shouldn't have expected anything different. Not necessarily off the rails, but it's just like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I don't come live. I don't go live and expect anything really. Which is probably odd because at this point I feel like I should. You know what I mean? I don't know why I would anticipate any different. And again, I kind of feel like this goes back to that solar plexus energy of like being in control of oneself. If we're controlled by money or fame, fortune, renown, popularity, being known, being seen, whatever, we can really easily be puppeted. Puppeted might be extreme. We can really easily be enticed by individuals or entities with means to do things that we wouldn't necessarily ordinarily or otherwise do. And so at that point, like, we're not necessarily sovereign or whatever, not to throw the S word out there. But at that point, we're not necessarily sovereign because we're ruled by whatever. And all something or someone has to do is play on that thing. Right? But it's almost like with that solar plexus, it is almost, it reads like a battle of will. Maybe it's a battle of will beyond an ego battle. Maybe if you strip the ego away, then if you strip a healthy ego away, then what you're left with is will. Someone's like individual will or willpower. And so healthy isn't necessarily good or bad. It's like a sturdy ego. Then you find will. And it's kind of a battle of will, not because an ego is shattered. It feels, again, within the domain of that solar plexus realm, it's almost like something is so like nutritionally dense, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, whatever, dense, that it almost takes a significant will to break it down and integrate it, to not be consumed by the thing, but to not let someone to not let their ego distort the thing either. It feels very, oh, I guess temperance. Is there another card for balance besides temperance? You could say justice, but that, I feel like that's more so the scales than anything else than justice. I feel like it would be temperance if there had to be a card of balance. Other cards, like I'm getting a Six of Pentacles type energy, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's balance because of like the distribution. You could say like a two, maybe a Two of Pentacles could be a card of balancing. I think so. I think that Two of Pentacles would be closest to like balance. I'm kind of curious what Gemini thinks, but I don't need that right now. Interesting. Should we see what the book has to say about the Two of Pentacles and the Six? Yeah, it was the Lovers and Death. The Two of Pentacles and the Nine of Cups. Two of Wands, sorry. Two of Wands and the Nine of Cups. I'm in the wand suit. Hold up. I just saw Cups and Psyche. I saw Psyche, but it was a lowercase p. So I don't think it was like Psyche. You know what I mean? That's fine. Nine of Cups, it's right here. Those held aloft by chance and luck are quick to gloat their fortune. They rest content in the warm embrace of their certainty of future happiness and grow fat on its sweetness. There are some on this path who know the fluid nature of the wine they enjoy and take not for granted. Their offerings at my feet are gratefully given and happily received, for I smile upon those that warmly greet fortune's fickle nature. I am called wish giver in abundance, the cup overflowing in fullness of heart. My mysteries are of the horn of plenty and the rudder of blessings and of flux. None know the direction in which I may steer their vessel, yet all celebrate beauty when it is given to them, drinking deep of the sweetness when my will turns them to the heavens. They think not of the fall, of the mire, of the bitter ills that may yet befall them, for that is not the nature of fulfillment. It is this I teach you, that the whims of fortune can show you the joys of life just as readily when your will has descended that true fulfillment is not in time or place, but in that limitless inner sea of your own heart. That was the Nine of Cups, by the way. That wasn't even the Wheel of Fortune. And we got two hearts on the table. Cool. Is Pentacles last? Oh, that's Swan. Oh, that's the core cards. Yep, Eight of Pentacles. I'm not looking at Pentacles. I'm looking at the Two of Wands. Goodness. Okay, here we go. I'm like, where are the wands? Oh, the World, Six of Wands, Four of Wands, Two of Wands. The sunrise ushers in a wealth of opportunity, and in the golden pathway I walk. The sun of the morning, eager in my tread and desirous of the horizon. I have dreamed of many things, and the stories of others have taken root in my heart, tugging insistently, girl, tugging insistently with the cry of now, now is the time. I have known and danced the ways of one, focused and passionate, but without a goal I have nothing. Over the rolling red sands I now send my goal, directed towards the horizon I seek, bearing with it my hopes, plans, and ambitions. I have set it in motion. I cannot fail, for failure is only found through inaction and refusal of opportunity. If you are offered a sweet smelling flower, will you take it and enjoy it? If the gods gift you with great foresight, would it not be against nature to fail to use it to your benefit? Make plans if you are able. Consider the many paths of possibility before you. Make the choices you are blessed with. Send your hopes far away and wait with eagerness to see what they become. They, like you, are youthful in the beginning, headstrong and uncertain of anything but the horizon ahead. But childhood does not last forever. Growth and expansion beckon. I offer the mysteries of discovery and enterprise. Their revelation is carefully planned and eager. Interesting. So that actually takes me back to where we started with double fire, clinging. Clinging is auspicious if the internal fire burns bright. And I feel like that is a reminder that, like, all of the things that we desire, all of the things that we want, like having those desires and having those wants, the needs that we have are not like bad in and of themselves. They're not necessarily to be abandoned. And a lot of that is related to the external experience, right? What we receive and what we experience. It doesn't happen inside, it happens outside. And clinging to that external burning of fire, again, is auspicious if the internal fire burns bright. The internal fire reading like will, and that's what the magician is, right? It's will and energy and action and some other stuff. Cool. I don't think I'm gonna get a final one of those. I will get a final card from the Tarot Apocalypsis. And just for funsies, we're gonna flip the sun. There's a High Priestess in this deck. There's a title card in this deck. There might be two title cards in this deck, actually. This is a quick flip. I might overlook it. It's been a minute since I've seen Mithras. Oh, there he is right there. Between the King of Swords and the Eight of Pentacles. The King of Swords in this deck is Odin. I don't know how I feel about Odin. Excuse me. Also, I think it's almost been 6 weeks. I am so excited. It's just like a lot of. I feel like it's a little bit more capacity than I thought it would be. I don't know why I'm surprised. But it's fine. I mean, what's 44 out of 55? Hello? What's 11 out of 55? Around 20%. 11 divided by 55. 20%. Duh. That's 1/5. Divide both by 11. 20%. So 80% has been expended. I've been running off of 20%. I'm kidding. I feel like I feel it costed it a lot more here recently. That's fine. I don't know why I keep hearing like the ring in my brain. In my mind, it's that doom doom doom. I don't have a Ring camera, but I'm pretty sure that's the Ring camera noise. Doom doom doom. But the thing about the Ring camera is you can see who's at the door. So it's not a surprise. Like, it's a surprise. It can be a surprise when you look at the video feed, question mark, but it's not going to be a surprise like when you open the door or when you welcome it in. What am I trying to say? I don't know. There's something like not surprising. Okay. Temperance, the Eight of Wands, the Hierophant, the Empress, and the Emperor. So we saw the Chariot and Temperance, whatever, right? Now Temperance is here with the Eight of Wands. And it feels like the Eight of Wands can come out now because something has begun, has started, is at completion. Also, clock the butterflies in Temperance. When there were butterflies all around Pandora in the All Gifted. There's a stone face here. Is she low-key giving Gaia? That's what everything is like being poured. Like that's, well, I guess that's what the burner is on. Interesting. And then the Eight of Wands, where things pick up. And then we have the Hierophant, the Empress, and the Emperor. The Hierophant, the Empress, and the Emperor. Is she not Inanna? I'm pretty sure I opened the book. Didn't I say Inanna earlier? Yeah. The Sumerian cult of Inanna. Inanna fits that energy, but a different branch. Because it's like she was already a goddess type energy, you know what I mean? So she's not necessarily given like a mortal that has transcended their mortality and gained some spark, parcel, piece, fragment of immortality, have been deified or otherwise. Like, you know, I feel like Inanna was a goddess before she became Ishtar, Inanna Ishtar. So, but I feel like, no, I feel like there have also been gods. The descent into the underworld is like something that gods and goddesses, deities do, question mark. And ascending or transcending one's mortality is something that humans do, question mark. What do I know? I didn't expect this run at the end. The Hierophant, the Empress, and the Emperor. And I feel like if you're gonna see the Empress and the Emperor with the Hierophant, usually you would see like the Empress and the Emperor first and then the Hierophant as like the officiant of some kind of marriage. Maybe since we see them in a different order, it's not necessarily that energy specifically. Maybe the Hierophant is a growing understanding of that question mark, question mark, question mark energy. Because that's also happened in a few shows that I've watched where either it was like God's Eye in that one anime that I talked about. In another anime, there's like another basically God's Eye type thing. There's someone with an analysis skill and they get like a direct divine boost to their analysis skill to analyze something that they usually wouldn't be able to. And even in the audiobook series, I feel like there have been moments where gods or greater beings have allowed for things to be understood. And it feels like that's kind of what like the Hierophant coming out before the Empress and Emperor kind of relay. What it kind of relays. Because again, it feels like if it came out the other way, it could have been a like union, marriagey type, thing. Not that I necessarily would have automatically interpreted it that way, but because this is after, it's like there's temperance and then there's a quickening, and it feels like the Hierophant is this energy that like elevates someone's understanding. It's interesting that we end up because what was it? The Ace of was it the Two of Wands that talked about youthfulness? I'm pretty sure it was the Two of Wands that talked about youthfulness in the horizon. Because it's almost like someone rapidly ages, or it's like a wisdom beyond their years type of energy. Also, because you have Mother, Maiden, Crone as three of those archetypal feminine energies, which is like a vertical, which is a horizontal, if time is linear, if time is on the x-axis. And this is like a vertical. I mean, essentially they would be the same, but why does this feel different? Maybe Mother, Maiden, Crone is more biological. I just saw a quote. It may have been a comment on a short or something I watched yesterday that mentioned something like the unwise. It may have been like, I don't want to say stupid, another S word. It's like the stupid grow old. They don't necessarily grow wise. And so it's not that, girl, please. I'm just trying to find why it's like represented this way here. And there's something about development and maturity, but like a soul maturity rather than a spiritual maturity, if that makes sense. Okay. I've already flipped. There he is. Ooh, I still can't believe it took me this long to start doing this. I love it. Bottom of the deck is the King of Cups, who is Apollo. I'm pretty sure this is Apollo. Or is Apollo. No, I think Cupid is the Knight of Cups, which could have been appropriate. Not really. Psyche was the one that became a goddess or was initiated into divinity. Cupid was already a god. Eros was, already doing his thing. Apollo, god of healing, oracles, and the arts. I don't feel like reading. I don't feel like reading all this. In the King of Cups, the fiery aspect of all of the kings of the tarot expresses itself in the suit of water. And I feel like that's it. It's that fire water bridge again. Fire expressing itself as water. Interesting. I don't know. There's on one hand we have Anana. On the other hand, we have fire expressing itself as water. It's fine. It's the King of Swords. Interesting. Before Mithras is the Princess of Swords. After Mithras is the King of Swords. There's Mithras in between. The sun beyond the sun. Eight of Wands is apparently where the bookmark is. Interesting. Cups. Swords. Odin, god of wisdom, sacrifice, and battle. Apollo was associated with prophecy. God of wisdom. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. All right. When I first saw Odin, I was like, oh, girl, y'all know how I feel. Y'all know how I feel about Odin. But I forgot. In as much as it's what Odin is associated with. Because again, there was something about that Hierophant. It's like if the maiden mother crone is more biological, then something with this Hierophant was of the soul and was of wisdom, right? Because then there was that whole like the whatever don't necessarily grow wise, they grow old. But Odin is associated with wisdom and he is the king. The princess is younger. So, this is Saga, goddess of knowledge, discourse, and learning. Goddess of knowledge before the sun beyond the sun. God of wisdom after. Interesting. Maybe just that knowledge and wisdom. How many words have you spoken in your years? Did they fall from your mouth accidentally, or were they chosen with care in the knowledge that every utterance from your lips creates and perpetuates the universe? Words bear the sign of the gods, for they make their mark upon the world for good or ill. Y'all hear that rumble? That's the Princess of Swords. See, okay, O wanderer, brief walker of the world, what would you sacrifice for knowledge? What would you be willing to give in exchange for wisdom? What oaths would you make and what promises would you break for the knowing of truth? This thing about like words, spoken words, with the knowledge that every utterance from the lips creates and perpetuates the universe. It takes me back to that magician and those like words of the divine. What was that part? Maybe we can just read that part. Ba-ba-ba-ba-boom. My mysteries are those of focus and will, active creation and manifestation. Walk my roads, and I shall show you your nature as a conduit of the divine, that you may project your will into the world and make it anew with each word you speak. But it was earlier. This was the path of magic, of will and energy directed into creation. This is a path you can also tread with words of power and the invocation of divine names. Even when I read that the first time, what was that associated with? I think that was the weed with that growth media. And at the top of this, there was an energy somewhere that was like the things that we like try to force. Oh no, that was the sacral. That was the sacral where the solar plexus should be, and the solar plexus where the sacral should be. It's like rather than like a natural creation, it was some kind of forceful projection. And how it's like there could be things that support the forced projection but neglect the self. And then if the self is neglected, it all falls apart. You know what I mean? I don't know how I necessarily feel about it, but that's besides the point. I think it was the chariot. I don't remember if I mentioned it or not. The chariot hinted at some kind of at least alignment before temperance. Okay. Oh, well, we have the emperor and the empress. Okay, cool. So it's like the emperor, the empress, and the hierophant are three parts of a self. The hierophant would obviously be like the divine part or whatever, and then the empress, and the emperor would be two other parts, right? Now you could say it's the what id and the ego or the superego or whatever. You could say it's internal. It's two halves of the self, and that's in like this red potion that's being poured into the potion of blood that's being poured with um, by temperance. And again, before temperance was the chariot. The chariot, it's about aligning seemingly opposing forces. When those two forces are aligned, then there's this third element that can be added to the mix. And the third element is the element of spirit or the ethereal, whatever, symbolized by, again, the Hierophant. So this is this internal human, masculine, feminine, light, shadow, emperor, empress that is balanced to put one in the space of initiation towards adding this Hierophant energy to the mix. And then this vessel is like the person, the individual, and it's you. And at that point, you could say someone becomes a magician. I don't know. The reason why I'm like, ugh, is because, again, it almost plays into that Afriti lawful evil with the Queen of Pentacles, Lakshmi, with the Nine of Cups, and clinging, where clinging to the external burning of fire is auspicious if the internal fire burns bright, right? Wanting to be well off in life and wanting to be loved is auspicious if the internal fire burns bright. And it's like, just like there are certain things that a lawful evil energy would never think of, there are things that a good energy would never do, right? It's like if someone is violently lactose intolerant to the point where they don't still eat the ice cream. Some people are violently lactose intolerant and risk it. But it's like if that lactose intolerant person is baking a cake, then they would never use dairy milk, right? So if someone's like, you need eggs and milk and flour and whatever, they would like automatically like go for a dairy-free alternative. It's like you wouldn't have to necessarily tell that person like use a dairy-free milk because they would never use a dairy milk, and vice versa, right? If there's someone who isn't lactose intolerant and that loves dairy, if you're like, yeah, use milk, eggs, and flour, they wouldn't think like, oh, like, I mean, I guess here in the States, they may go like skim milk, whole milk, 2%, but they wouldn't necessarily go like, oh, like a almond milk or like a oat milk, soy milk. Like, what kind of milk are you talking about? It's kind of one of those, like, even though there are multiple paths, and even though there are many paths and there are multiple outcomes, conclusions, interests, in betweens, there are certain things that certain individuals would like never even consider. Right? Where does that play in here? Oh yeah, the clinging. That's why I'm like, why am I here again? It's always like it's like Hamlet. When Hamlet received the prophecy from the three witches that he would be the next Duke of Denmark or whatever. Macbeth, girl, Macbeth, not Hamlet. And Macbeth, when Macbeth got the prophecy from the three witches that he would be the next Duke of whatever or whatever, when he told his wife was like, oh, so we have to kill the Duke. Like, we kill the Duke and then you become the new Duke. And instead of being like, why is your first thought murder? He was like, yeah, I guess so. Like, there were so many ways that he could have became the next whatever of whatever, but they chose the path of murder. A bloody start had a bloody ending. And it's like, no one, like, they didn't say that they had to do that. That's an internal fire that may have been kind of dim, or maybe not. I mean, for Lady Macbeth, maybe that's who she was. For Hamlet, it feels like, why do I keep saying Hamlet? For Macbeth, from what I read, it's like he was kind of on the fence. He could have gone about it another way, but she kind of like pushed things, and then she's trying to wash something off her hands that she can't get off, and she was, yeah, girl. Maybe it's that part. I feel like it's that part of like wanting the abundance and prosperity and wanting a person in love and like success and all these other things. Those things in and of themselves aren't enough to like, or the desire for those things in and of themselves aren't enough to like completely rule out whatever. And I feel like that's where clinging is again. As long as the internal fire burns bright, as long as you remain authentic to you and have some integrity, you can get those things and it not come about in a way that you have to pay more than what you got out of them. What was that second one? I want to read that one again. Attraction, influence, and chemistry. Almost emphasis on that influence. Receive others with humility and non-judgment. Let the people move you and you will move the people. Reciprocal attraction, mutual influence. Young lovers are joyous and prosperous. It is auspicious for you to proceed with your endeavor. Change is coming, though no one seems to sense it. The beginnings of movement. An idea begins to surface. However, whether the influence will have an impact remains to be seen. It is still too early to tell. There's a it's what is it? I feel like is that Cloud? Is it Cloud Adventure? And like a child, my eyes are open. It's that part. But before that, it's like sudden ripples on the water. Nothing left into everything. I haven't heard that song in a while. That was music I got on my iPhone. I feel like nobody really buys digital music these days. Most people stream it. I should went for the album. Albums. Give me back the albums. What's the name of the album? Is it Adventure? The artist is Cloud question mark. Let's go to the top. Hello? Why are these not alphabetized? There is the artist. It's not by artist. It's not alphabetized. What is going on? What is happening? Here it is. Adventure, Cloud, 12 tracks. Okay, so none of these are titled that. It's not Shake the Ground. It's not What Your Eyes. Is it Turning? No. It's not this one. No. Oh, it's shuffled. Stop shuffling. It may not be this one. At this point, the read is basically over. Is it Angel Music? It might actually be Angel Milk. Sorry, it may be Angel Milk from Telepop Music. If it's Angel Milk, that's low-key crazy because, again, of blood and bone and angel milk. No, I'm kidding. Well, something said, oh, the magician calling down angels into everything. Is this song Into Everything? Angel Milk, Telepop Music. I wouldn't have remembered Telepop Music, which is a shame because I love Telepop Music. Telepop Music, Into Everything. Open your world. Subtle ripples forming closer, touching me. I can't escape. Foolishly, I think I'm stronger than a kiss. Now it's too late. Fully ripened, I am falling into your hands for you to taste. I'm like a child. My eyes are open, ambushed by your pretty face. Yeah, okay. Angel Milk, Into Everything. It was just that part, like a child, my eyes are open, and that like it will have an influence. Like there will be an influence, but it is yet to be seen if that influence will impact anything. And I feel like low key, especially here in the good old USA, I feel like we've kind of been living that for the past year and a half. I feel like it's like there have been so many things of like note and of influence that have happened and come out and all kinds of stuff. But have there been any impacts? Like, has it impacted anything really? Has it changed anything? Or are we more or less sort of careening on the same course with more knowledge than we had yesterday, but apparently not any more wisdom? Some of us, it's a spectrum, but it's just that thing of like something can be very influential and still have like no impact. Something be influential and have I almost want to say magnanimous, but that's not the word. Some can be influential and have huge impact, momentous. The internal fire burns bright and it is auspicious for you to proceed with your endeavor. Change is coming, though no one seems to sense it. The beginnings of movement, an idea begins to surface. I feel like it's fine. I was gonna say I feel like there's something like low key, a little severe here, but maybe not. Because again, there was that energy of like, I'm gonna get a final card that's not around the wrist. There was an energy at first that was like weeding things, but it feels like there's also like a very, I want to say it's a pleasant surprise, but I want to say it's not unanticipated. So again, maybe that's that doom 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 ring camera energy, because it's almost like let's say you planted some seeds out in the field and you want to, like, you had a handful of seeds, you planted them all, but then something happened. Maybe there was some wind that came in and put a whole bunch of seeds on your plot. And originally, like, you wanted to have just an orchard of apple trees. So you planted a bunch of apple seeds, or you had a handful of apple seeds from like a handful of apples that you had that were like really, really, really good. I think I just saw, and by just saw, I mean like within the past 2 months, within the past month, I feel like I saw something that said that like apples are some kind of fruit. So that even if you plant the seed of the apple, it's not going to grow the exact same apple. Like the seeds from the fruit aren't going to get you the exact same fruit. Obviously, it's still going to be an apple. It's not going to be an orange or a watermelon or a kiwi or a mango, but it's not necessarily going to be that same crispy, juicy, whatever, like apple, like the one that you planted. It'll be a little different. Anyway, there's like a handful of apple seeds from a handful of apples that you had, and you really want an orchard, but something happened. And so that growth media, it's like you do something so that everything grows like exponentially. And like you do a lot, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you don't want. So there's like a lot of weeding, but the thing that you planted that you want to see grow will grow. You'll get your apples, and then you'll be able to get more than a handful of apples because enough of the seeds will grow. And then you can take those fruits and the seeds from those fruit and then like go and do the thing that you wanted to do with the apples before everything kind of like shuffled the board type energy. So that's kind of how it's like, it's both that there's this accelerated growth and there are going to be some weeds, but also it's like some kind of thing that you want to find. It's something that like you actually wanted, right? It could also be the energy of like, let's say someone has like a contest or there's an open thing. Something's like open to interpretation. Something's like kind of ambiguous. And maybe instead of like, it's like some kind of contract bidding thing where different people are going to present different interpretations or different ideas. And you are going to have the one that they want. Sorry. It could be. It's kind of like that energy. Like they know they're going to get a lot of stuff that they're going to have to toss, but they have a feeling that there's going to be at least one or two really, really good things that like really hit the nail on the head. You're going to find what you're looking for. Okay, final card from the tarot. Oh, immediately flipped over. Immediately. It's a Wands card. The Nine of Wands. Immediately flipped over. Bottom of the deck is the Princess of Wands. Who is the Princess of Wands? Who are you? Not Isis. Is it Isis? The Ace of Swords is under this Princess of Wands. Princess of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Nine of Wands came out. Oops. Interesting. I feel like that's just not necessarily a warning, but I feel like, again, that kind of sort of plays into that energy of like that whole like transcending mortality or whatever is for mortals, and descending into the underworld is for deities. If a mortal goes to the underworld, they're not coming back. See Orpheus and Eurydice. Now, to be fair, there was an energy. That was the whole thing of the miracle or whatever. That's the window is almost coming to a close. And I'm so glad, girl. Again, I'm like, maybe my capacity will be restored if I'm not at like 20%. Anyway, there was that whole Orpheus and Eurydice were like just another step. And that the majors that came out in the Devil Majors was the Knight of Pentacles. So it's like something that was already going to happen, or maybe it was happening slowly, and it's just like a boost, a little bit more momentum. It crosses the finish line before time runs out. It whatever, right? Anyway, I feel like it's not Isis. Actually, it might be Isis because I think the Queen of Wands is Hathor. Yep, Queen of Wands is Hathor. Daughter of Wands, Princess of Wands is Isis, goddess of power, will, and manifestation. Power, will, and manifestation. And was that not the magician? Words of power, will, and manifestation. Maybe this is like a be humble type energy. Like Ice Spice said, you think you good, but I'm greater type energy. You're not even a flatulence. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that kind of feels a little ego trip-y. So maybe just a reminder, if you do come into a period of great and exponential change, to stay connected to like anchor yourself in something that is like true to you and authentic to you, because it's one of those, like, it could be easy to be swept up in everything. And again, I guess we are still in that roughly 6-month window in this first decade of North Node Aquarius, South Node Pisces, North Node Aquarius, South Node Leo. That did kind of read like there's going to be a major shift or transition, and there's a period of acclimation. And so it's like, while yes, it did read like there's a grace period, it's kind of sort of back to that energy of like mistakes. Not every mistake has to be huge and have these like life-changing consequences. Sometimes it's kind of a like, man, I wish I wouldn't have said that, or I wish I wouldn't have done that, or oh, I really wasn't my best self. I hope they don't, whatever. And the person could be like, oh yeah, it's fine, no problem. And they may genuinely, truly forgive you. And it still may be one of those, man, like, I know they forgive me, but wish they didn't have to. Not for that. You know what I mean? Or maybe like you act a little cringy or something. I don't know. I mean, I feel like a little cringe isn't necessarily a mistake, but yeah. I don't know. It is a little bit of an ego game. Maybe it's a little bit of ego test. Give somebody a little bit of whatever, see what they do with it. If they go off the rails, it's like, yeah. Because you know how sometimes the bullied become the bully. The bullied become the bullies. The bullied becomes the bully. Girl, grammar. Sometimes the bullied becomes the bully. Because it's like they're eternal at the top of the wheel and they're gonna do whatever. And it's like if that's what it is for somebody, that's fine. But if that isn't what it is for somebody, then keep in mind, like, you didn't work hard to do whatever was done to you, or blah blah blah, whatever. You worked hard to move forward in life, or to for your kids, or for somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, it's about who it's about, and it's not about the rabble along the way. You know what I mean? And it could be really easy to like do something, and in this digital age we live in now, don't get canceled because you know what I mean? And it's not even necessarily canceled because it doesn't necessarily feel so like public. But remember that like you represent yourself, and depending on your role, position, ties, or whatever, you could represent something or someone else. And so it reminds me, like, there was a girl who got an internship at like NASA or something. And she made, I think it was a tweet that was like, oh, I got an internship at NASA. Y'all can't tell me nothing, blah, 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 blah. And someone was like, hey, like, you know, they said something. And she was like, who are you? Like, blah, 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 blah. And it turns out that person had the power to rescind her internship offer. So she didn't. I mean, she got the internship and then she lost it before she even started because of her behavior. And it's, you know, that situation was what that situation was. Just treat it like a cautionary tale, right? It can be fun. We can be validated and vindicated, but, you know, remember what it's really about. That remembrance might save us some hassle or some challenging conversations that we don't want to have or whatever. So anyway, I said I wasn't going to get a final roll of these. What I'm going to do is, because I am testing the program and I think I've gotten this figured out now, what I can do is uncheck all these boxes and just get a final I Ching and these. And we'll say 819 final cast. Excuse me. Hey, boo, 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 boo. I Ching number 8, water over earth. We have the rise of two empires synchronized, a vision that ignites the self and the soul, A blip of light at the heart of a black hole, progenitors in a primordial pool, and the chariot. Again, we see the chariot. They are steadily, confidently moving forward. He's not holding any reins. It's an act of will. That blip of light at the heart of a black hole is interesting because, again, it gives us that sort of flash in the pan energy. When the Afriti is defeated, it disintegrates into a flash of fire and a puff of smoke. I feel like this is a very interesting. I feel like a lot of times, maybe this is on me. I feel like a lot of times, maybe not all the time, maybe I'm a little bit better at it, a little bit. Maybe I'm at least marginally better at it than I am giving myself credit for in this moment. But I feel like kind of sort of in general, I'm not necessarily always great at reading like transitions. I feel like there's almost like an absoluteness where it's like, this is this energy and whatever. But the blip of light at the heart of a black hole, with that flash in the pan, gives, again, there's something influential that will be impactful. And so something will change. I think that did kind of come out earlier. It did. Where there was like, there's someone who, for whatever reason, was working with a free tea type energy. And then they have like a moment or a revelation, a realization where they're like, this road doesn't lead where I think it does, or where I wanted it to, where I hoped it would. It's like someone like facing the facts and making that choice and decision to pivot. And it couldn't have happened at a better time. Maybe it's right before something goes down. It's before the cost of something is so high that there's no coming back from it. Before that moment, that's what that's kind of reading like. The rise of two empires synchronized is interesting because we had that feminine, masculine emperor and empress, but also there was like the emperor, empress, and the hierophant. So it's like there's a hieramphic empire, and then there's the one that's ruled by the emperor, empress, and they like their rise is synchronized. Synchronized meaning like they're both happening, maybe not necessarily at like the same rate. So maybe it's like a uh, 1 for 2 or a 2 for 1, and then a 3 for 1, and then a 1 for 1, 1 for 4, right? It's not necessarily consistent, not necessarily a 1 for 1, but they are both rising. And a vision that ignites the self and the soul. I feel like there was something about vision. Anyway, it's fine. Let's look at I Ching number 8. I Ching number 8. There's only one to read, which is pretty great. Is I Ching number 8? Is I Ching number 8 the one that's like, don't seek out any more divination, naivety? Maybe not. 16. I wasn't keeping count. Number 9, I Ching number 8. Teamwork, alliances, and bonding. To prevent fights, a neutral voice is needed, a voice from the gods. Two stand together, one linked to the other, bonding for strength and alliance. And we're talking about two empires, the rise of two empires synchronized with an alliance with. To conquer the great floods and enemies, hold an assembly of the gods on the mountain. Good fortune to come when your intentions are in good faith. Good intentions. Good faith intentions. Not just good intentions in good faith. A good faith intention is like you can have good intentions and know that someone is probably going to be negatively impacted. But if you go along with it anyway, under the guise of it being mutually beneficial, I wouldn't say that that's done in good faith. There is significant enough chance or cause within an individual that they know that it's a lot less likely for the other person to succeed in the way that you will. You know what I mean? Like knowing that something was like kind of going to ultimately end up in someone else's downfall while you prospered is like, that's not done in good faith. We can have good intentions and bad faith, right? It's like we're not intending for a person to get hurt. We understand that it's a risk that impacts them and affects them significantly more than it does us, but it's not our intention. But we know that like there's a significant risk for the other party. That's not good faith. Whatever reasoning we do within ourselves. Anyway. A fair warning, do not be late. Do not be the last to arrive. The last to arrive will receive misfortune. Your honor will be tested, but with motivation and focus, one can achieve anything. Seek alliances with those who share your truth. Maybe that last line is a little bit of encouragement from like to, I don't know. If this is for somebody, it's for that person. And I don't have to worry about all the whatever. But also I recognize those times and moments where it does feel kind of like we're in the crucible of it, y'all. But it's like when it comes to a test of character, when it comes to a test of belief, there's nothing you can necessarily do to like train for that besides keep living life. You know what I mean? And again, with that good faith, like, I don't know. Anyway, don't be the last to arrive. And again, with that second Diceology card, with a blip of light at the heart of a black hole, but it was that flash in a pan, and that whole like before things go too far, someone's going to have an opportunity to pivot before things go to the point where the cost is astronomical or there's a point of no return. And I feel like that whole like do not be the last to arrive, the last to arrive will receive misfortune. It's almost like, well, at that point it's too late to cut your losses. It's too late to be like not associated. It's like if you're into like if you're going somewhere with somebody and you know the kind of person they are, if your intuition and discernment is like, hey, like I should turn back, it's like if you don't remove yourself from the situation before it's too late, you at the very least become an accessory. Not like, I guess kind of like you sacrifice your innocence or claim to uninvolvement. We sacrifice our innocence and our claim to uninvolvement when we ignore intuition and discernment and overstay our welcome in certain situations. Don't be the last to make that decision to jump ship, because at that point, there's no other rescue and there's a lot of water and there's a flood. Didn't I mention floods? You know what I mean? I think sometimes though we kind of live life on the edge, especially when we're in like hurricane territory or oh girl, not necessarily to pull too much from things that are actually happening, but it's like sometimes when we live in an environment where something is kind of the norm, there are certain situations that seem like run of the mill, average, ordinary, like it's not going to hit us, it's not going to affect us, it's not going to impact us to the point of significant harm. And so we don't think we have to evacuate because it's never been that bad. But we're living in times that are ecologically, in some ways, unprecedented, especially in recent years. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, if we take a look at like what's happening now versus what had been happening, maybe this time we evacuate and we listen because things haven't been what they used to be. And sometimes it's better safe than sorry. Anyway, I don't know. There you go. Water over the earth. Yeah. Hopefully, if you sat through any of this, something resonated for you. I hope you. What's my thing? I don't know if I said it last time. I think I just ended the live. I hope you have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey, what you find. And I hope you the wisdom and the discernment to clock whatever you need to clock and peep whatever game you need to peep. You know? I feel like the chariot, is it like the promise of movement or is it the threat of movement? I mean, that's personal. It's the promise. It's the promise that it's one of those, like, the only constant in life is change. And things are about to change. So, anyway, thanks, Janelle, for stopping by. Right? Yes. And I'll catch y'all later. At some point. I'm sure. Maybe.